Hi everyone. As you might know, we don't get any sort of funding from any wealthy benefactors, academic institutions, governments, or political parties. Our work is funded by you, our listeners and readers on Patreon. In return, our supporters on Patreon get access to exclusive content and benefits like ad-free episodes, bonus podcast episodes, and 2 exclusive Patreon-only podcast series, Fireside Chats and Radical Reads. So here's a little preview of our latest Patreon-only episode. You can join us, help support our work, and listen to the full episode today at patreon.com/workingclasshistory. Link in the show notes.
As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day, 1,000,000 darkened kitchens, 1,000 mill lofts grey are brightened by the beauty sun discloses, and the people here are singing bread and roses, bread and roses.
I just feel like conceptually, like he's there and being like, fucking Norway didn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize. You know what I mean? And also, like, he's so pissed off about it that, like, he got that Venezuelan woman to actually give him the Nobel Peace Prize. And the thing is, he does this all the time. He did it with at the Club World Cup when he made Chelsea give him the Club World Cup.
And he made FIFA make up a Peace Prize.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
For the other World Cup, he just made them make one up.
And it's like, this again, I just think is like, it speaks to just his general imbecility. You know what I mean? Like, he likes shiny things. You know, like when you're a kid and you're just like, I don't know, your mum might just like open your drawer one day and it's just full of like rocks, nice rocks that you found and you've just been keeping them there, like, or like whatever, just like little knickknacks that you found that you were like, oh, this is cool, I'm going to just hold on to this.
But it's also like the right aren't supposed to like participation trophies, right?
Yeah.
But that's what he
No,
wants.
not even, because he hasn't even participated, you know? Like, Donald Trump was not part of the Chelsea team that won the Club World Cup. Do you know what I mean? He's just like, I like that. Oh, look at that shiny object. Get me one of those. And you're just like...
So you're saying it's more like is it a pigeon? No, magpie.
Magpie. He's a magpie. He is like a magpie. And yeah, I wish I knew more about magpies, because I'm sure that magpies take shiny objects for some reason. But Trump is just like, I guess it's like when you're a kid and you really like getting a sticker. You know, you get a sticker from your teacher and you're like, you come home when you're like pushing your chest out, like so that your mum will see, like, you know. There, so that already was really funny to me. And then,
I mean, I also think it's worth pointing out that he did the same moan on one of the more racist social networks, like a week ago, was complaining that Norway didn't give him the prize, and then everyone corrected him and was like, you know that. So if he didn't know before, that's when he called it the Nobel Prize. Right. If he didn't know before, he's definitely been told by lots of people that the Norwegian government or Norway, the country, does not give the awards.
Yeah, again, I wonder what it is. I'm just so fascinated by his brain. Do you know what I mean? I think, like, who was it that they cut his brain out to study it? Was it Einstein? Did it happen to Lenin as well? I can't remember. Like,
I think both. And RFK Jr. obviously just had some of his brain removed, but that was because it was eaten by a worm. And then
and we need to study what happened to that worm. You know?
And then he got put in charge of the nation's health.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we have to do that with Trump one day. Just like,
I mean, I think before we move on to the next sentence, I think it's also worth just mentioning the classic Trumpism that he just capitalizes random words.
Yeah.
Because it's not even, obviously, you know, he's German, because his family name isn't even Trump. And they came from Germany like not that long ago. But so, you know, it's kind of the German thing of capitalizing. They capitalize a lot, but it's not even, he doesn't go full German because there's not like an exact rule to the words he capitalizes,
Yeah.
which German has because they really like rules.
Yeah. And it definitely doesn't explain why he's just put the number 8 there instead of spelling it. And again, like, I think the reason he's put the number 8 there is because 8 is a bit tricky to spell, you know.
Yes, it's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one, you know. But yeah, I think the next bit as well is fantastic. It's like, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. And I just think, although it will always be predominant, I love that subordinate clause. Although it will always be predominant, you know, because, I mean, anyway, first of all, the idea that he's been thinking purely of peace, that's all he thinks about. He's there and he's just been like, you know, people are like, oh, Mr. President, the price of eggs or whatever. No, I need to think about peace. I'm thinking about peace around the world. Yeah, as he's like blowing up fishermen off the coast of Venezuela.
And bombing Iran.
Yeah, exactly. Or like green lighting further genocide in Palestine and like, you know, all of that and planning the Gaza Riviera. But he, at the same time, he's actually such a megalomaniac that I think he does think he's thinking purely of peace. Do you know what I mean? He just thinks like, I don't know. Or yeah, maybe at this point he can't discern between reality and lies. I think maybe that's another thing. Is that like
yeah, or really? I don't know. I think he knows he's lying. I think he just doesn't care.
Yeah, but I think like I do think there's a thing about like I think a normal person when they lie, it's like you take like a run up for the lie, and then you make the lie. And you hope that it lands properly. Whereas I think Trump is a sort of person where like the line between lies and truth is actually, it's just a thing that I say to get what I want. You know what I mean?
Well, I think basically his mentor was like Roy Cohn, his old lawyer, who was also the lawyer who, I think he was in charge of the prosecution of the and the execution of the Rosenbergs.
Oh, fucking hell.
Who were executed for both of them for leaking nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union. And like Roy Cohn's whole ideology was just like, it's like there is no truth, there's power.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, truth, lies, it's nothing. All there is power and winning. I don't know, if you were personal friends with him, maybe you could be like, then he probably wouldn't even admit something was a lie to person.
No, that's it. Because I think
he just doesn't care. He just thinks, you know, if you're powerful, then it's true.
Yeah, yeah. I think even saying that he doesn't care is almost like the wrong framing of it. You know, because it's like, I think it's just you don't see it. You're just like, you know, I'm just saying stuff that is useful to me and that's it. But yeah, and then also the other thing is that I think, do you think he meant to say predominant? I feel like he meant to say prominent. You know, like he meant to say that peace will always be prominent in my thoughts, you know, but he's written predominant. But yeah, like, which I suppose is a minor thing. But yeah, however, it is the next paragraph, which for me is maybe one of the greatest paragraphs written in the English language, where he says, Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. And why do they have right of ownership anyway? Which, this is brilliant, partly because I really like, you know, the first clause, Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. Fine. That is a classic, straightforward, written statement of like, okay, that's what I think, that Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. And then the next bit after the comma, I genuinely think that this was just dictated and this just came into his mind as he was saying it. He was just like, and why do they have right of ownership anyway? Because the tone just changes completely. It goes from like, you know, classic tone of a formal written text to, it sounds very verbal, this next bit. And then the next bit, there are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. And this bit for me is amazing. This is gold.
Anti-colonial Trump?
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, I want to repeat it. And I just feel like you need to pause and then just have this in your mind. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. And I just think, like, this is the best. It was the worst, but also the best part of a sentence I've ever heard.
Well, because also, who is we in that?
Yeah.
Does he mean Britain?
What, Britain? No, he means America.
Yeah, which didn't exist as an independent,
Right, okay.
Obviously illegitimate settler colonial state, but as a nation state until 1776.
Right, yeah.
Which is not very long ago. So,
and it seems like he feels that boats landing somewhere hundreds of years ago is not a sufficient requisite for deciding, what piece of land belongs to which people. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say, oh, we landed here on a boat hundreds of years ago, so it's ours. And you're like, bruv, do you know what country you're from? Like, I don't know. Like, it's
it's like Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Guam.
Yeah.
The U.S. Virgin Islands.
Have you watched any of those Jubilee debates where it's like one sort of left-wing media person versus 100 neo-Nazis or something? You know what I mean?
I've seen them. I'm not masochistic enough to subject myself to watching more than 5 seconds of one.
So I saw one clip where I think it was Mehdi Hassan, and he was talking to a white woman who was adamant that her family were indigenous to the United States because they had moved there from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, that's not what indigenous means. You're not indigenous. She was like, yeah, we don't want immigrants because we're indigenous to the United States. Like, but where are your grandparents? Well, my grandparents are from, I can't remember, Poland or something. And he was like, well, so you're not indigenous? Like, yeah, I'm indigenous. Like, I'm indigenous to the United States. And I think, like, maybe that's what he thinks. Maybe he thinks, but I don't know what. It makes, for me, this makes no sense at all. And yeah, it just made me laugh. The way he's constructed this sentence is just hilarious. Like, it's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I can imagine, working with like a school kid who's written that and being like, this is not how you would write that sentence.
Well, have you heard that kind of theory that everyone is 12?
Everyone is 12.
Yeah, that like everyone is 12 now. And that's kind of a lot of things in politics can just be explained by, especially like Trumpism and everything, the way that the simplistic way that they view and talk about things is, I think you can imagine a 12-year-old, like, especially a 12-year-old little, like, entitled rich kid, that gets what it wants from the nanny by sort of threatening to report her to the parents or whatever.
Yeah.
I think you can imagine an entitled 12-year-old making that argument and thinking it was justified.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's just so much here. And even like the idea that then Denmark doesn't have the right to keep Greenland. Yeah, again, like you say, so for anti-colonial reasons, but then because of that anti-colonial reason, the logic is that America should have it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Not that Greenlanders should have it, because obviously that's not even on the agenda.
And actually what it is like what you were saying before, the only thing that's important is power and, realpolitik. So, when he says it's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also, actually part of what he's saying is, yeah, you had a boat landing there hundreds of years ago, but we can have boats landing there now. And so, like, the same way that, like, you took it, we can also take it.
I don't think he's that, like, smart. I think he doesn't realise that the US didn't exist prior to 1776. Because, I mean, he's also the person that was, like, talked about in the American Revolution, how I think George Washington went and seized the airports. This is the level of historical knowledge that we're dealing with. That's one of the first steps that they took, because you want to deprive the British of air support.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the Redcoat Air Force.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. When you've got your armies kind of all in a line marching towards each other, you know, you need the air support to, you know, that's
Well,
it.
exactly, because a musket against, like, you know, an F-16,
Yeah.
it's an easy, it's an easy,
It's a no-brainer. It's literally
exactly.
a no-brainer.
So they had to take away the Redcoats air support for, you know, and they bloody did it as well.
Yeah.
So this is the level of knowledge that we're dealing with. So
did you see Glenn Beck's conversation with AI George Washington? It was great. It's so amazing.
As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day.
That brings us to the end of this episode preview. To listen to the full thing and help support our work researching and promoting people's history, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/workingclasshistory. Link in the show notes.